Hey guys, so I am going to be telling another story time. I am going to preface this story time by saying I've been wanting to tell this story for a very long time. I just didn't know how to tell it. I wanted it to be beneficial, and I did not want it to come off as if I was slandering or if I was trying to tear down her character. So for that purpose, I'm not going to mention names. I'm either going to change the name or I'm just not going to say the name at all. This story time, child, is going to be about the time that I worked for someone who was really into witchcraft. I don't want to call her a witch. I'll just say that she was into witchcraft. So the first time I started working for her, I started working for her when I first got licensed. Originally, I wanted to assist for a woman that was really, really good in color and haircuts. Like, that's what she was known for. That's what majority of her clientele was. But at the time, she was really polite about it. And she told me like, hey, I got an assistant already, but maybe you can look around and see if there's any other stylists that you would want to assist for. Honestly, in that salon, it was nobody else I wanted to assist for. Like, nobody else. I wanted to assist for her. So then I got recommended another lady. And when I went to her, the reason why I went to her, though, was because somebody else had told me about her. So I went to her and she was talking to me. She's like, oh, I heard you want to assist. And I was like, yeah, I do. She was like, well, I have my daughter. She's an assistant right now for me. So I don't have space for another assistant. But I do know someone else that you can assist for. So that's how I met the woman that this story time is about. So once I had met the boss lady, we had an interview. I had expressed to her that I wanted to continue my education even behind the chair, and I really did want some hands-on experience. She said, okay, we had agreed on that. She also expressed to me that she was not really interested in having another assistant because she was used to people like basically coming and going, and she didn't want that to keep happening again. Basically, she got tired of adjusting her schedule for an assistant to readjusting it because she didn't have an assistant. She also expressed in so many words how she felt used after people would come in, learn what they wanted to learn, and then just leave. And that I didn't pay attention to then, but it started to become more evident as time went on, and I'll kind of show y'all that as I, go through the story. So when I started, I was under the impression that she would help me with a lot of hands-on experience during the times of like her not working on the weekends, because she will work every other weekend, not every single weekend. And when she would work on Saturdays, she will only work half of the day. So that was still considered her working. So I wouldn't get taught anything on Saturdays. So that's why I really signed up, because y'all, she was filling my head up with a lot of stuff that she was going to do. And I'm like, okay, bet, because it sounds like we on the same page and this is what I want to do. Now, I'm going to say this. The lady who recommended me, her and a couple other people were like, she don't play, like she really tough as nails, but you will learn what you need to learn and you will be a great stylist out of it. She's strict and she don't play no games. So I went in there with that, but honestly, I'm not gonna lie, I didn't think that she would be what people were saying she would be, because I do try to give people a pass. So as an assistant, I will prep her clients for chemicals. I will prep her to apply the chemicals. So I will lay out every single thing that she needed to do the service. So all that she would have to do is come in, put her gloves on, and get to work. She was really great at pampering and catering to her clients' needs. And she taught me that, so I carried that on in my business as well. Anyway, as time went on, I started noticing that she was not holding up her end of the bargain. She was not educating me like she said she was. Like, weekends would go by and she was not educating me. I think I had one class when I was with her, when it was just me and her, just one. And during that time, I kept remembering, like, I wonder why nobody want to stay and work for her. I wonder why she can't keep an assistant. Like, it's not clicking, Steven. Like, I'm not getting it. But as time went on, I noticed like I couldn't take clients. I couldn't do anything. It was basically, I'm gonna be honest, I felt like I was a peon. I felt like I was only there to assist her to get through her day. And that's not what we talked about when I signed up to be her assistant. That's not what we talked about in the interview. But I will say that me back then, I did not used to speak up for myself. I used to just hold stuff in and just let it boil over, basically. And even when it boiled over, depending on who the person was, I still didn't express myself. So I was very passive, and I would have a lot of passive aggressive moments, which that coupled together, it didn't work out. As time went on, I don't know if I mentioned to y'all that I was still in college. So I would go to school during the day, and I would come and assist on days I didn't have school or after I got out of school. What she was paying me, it just wasn't enough. So I had already had a second job. So I would go to that job on days in the evening after I got done with her, or when I wasn't going to school, or after I went to school. Baby, I was a busy girl, okay? I know, don't tell me. So as people got to know me, you know, I'm letting it be known, like, because they're asking me, I'm like, oh yeah, I'm still in school. I'm going to get my bachelor's degree, So we would just talk. So I remember her pulling me aside, and she was like, you know, you got to stop talking so much about school. You need to talk more about hair, because that's not what you're here for. So then, I'm not gonna lie, I was offended, because I was like, dang, like, I mean, I'm just thinking that I'm having conversation. Me now in 2024, I understand what she meant. It's just that her tone could have been different when she was telling the story. I mean, when she was telling me, like, you want people to know and to trust you when doing their hair. So I'm like, okay, cool. Some things were going on in my home life that you know, it was just a lot going on. And I wouldn't say it was bad, and I'm not gonna make y'all feel like, oh my gosh, no, it was just a lot going on that I needed to handle. I had already been thinking, like, I need to figure out how to quit. And me being passive, I'm like, I hope she just fired me or something. One day she was doing my hair, and she was like, you know, I think that maybe you should take some time off and just go ahead and focus on your home situation. And when you get that together, maybe you can, you know, come back if you're still interested. So I was like, in my head, I was like, yes, I get out of here. Because it wasn't that I was distracted. I just think that she felt like I needed to fix that first and then circle back around. Now, here's where assistant number 2 comes in. I remember the day she walked into the salon, and when she came in, I had saw her at the front. She never came through the back, but because there were a lot of mirrors in the salon, I could see her. And I remember something told me she gonna come in and she's gonna be an assistant. Even though I overheard her, she was coming in to wanting to be a stylist, and she was looking for a booth. It was a couple years that had went by. When I had left her salon, it wasn't that I stopped doing hair, baby. I shimmied on down and I went to go work at JCPenney. And then I went from JCPenney to Supercuts, and then I went from Supercuts to another location in Supercuts. And then I went to go do booth rent at a really popular salon. I was getting a lot of foot traffic because of the lady who owned the salon was a very popular stylist. I keep saying was. She is a very popular stylist in this area. And I was able to post a lot of work, a lot of makeup too, because that stylist and slash owner, she allowed me to do makeup there and to do hair there, and she would throw clients at me all the time. And the girls there will also let me shampoo their clients too. And y'all, it was times that I ain't had the booth rent money. They ain't know that, but I walked out with the booth rent money and a little walking around money too. So anyway, back to the story. God had gave me a dream, and so my time there was up. I forgot that me and Boss Lady were following each other on Facebook. And I remember I had uploaded a picture, and she commented on the picture, and she was like, oh my gosh, I miss you. You should come into the salon again. And I was like, yeah, maybe I should. So like I said, with the vision that I had about the salon that I'm currently in, the popular salon, the time was winding down there. And I had needed to find something else, because at the time I didn't want to stop doing hair, because I was finally picking up traction with my clientele. Once we met again, we had basically, it wasn't like an interview this time around, because she already basically knew me. I basically already knew her. So it was kind of like us catching up, getting to know each other over again a little bit, kind of like, oh, what you been doing? What do you see yourself doing with your career? Like, what's your long-term, short-term goals? I really didn't get into depth about what I wanted or what I was looking for or what I was trying to do, because it wasn't that much time that we were just sitting down there talking for hours and hours and hours. So I had wrote down what I wanted in my next salon. I knew that I had wanted to continue my education. I knew that I had wanted an environment that would help me to grow my clientele and to grow my artistry, like to help me to perfect certain things. So kind of like be an assistant, but not. But if I was going to be an assistant, still have room to be able to take my clientele and a bunch of other things, right? Do y'all know I never opened up that paper and it had sat in my pocket? It was on my mind throughout the time that we were talking. It was on my mind to like pull the paper out, Shanice, talk about it, bring it up, ask her, because I had already said in my mind, like, if this isn't answered, a lot of these things are not answered, then it's a non-negotiable. But I do want to add here that she did mention in the conversation like how she was ready to retire and she was looking for someone that she could be able to pass her business on to. And she was like, you know, I would still, you know, service my faithful few, and then I could just pay you booth rent when I come in and I do my people or whatever. And the way that she talked about it was very personalized. Like she was talking about it and extending this opportunity to me, only me, right? So once I started working there again, assistant number 1 was still there. She had been there for the last 4 or 5 years. And so she would always crack jokes with the clients like, oh, you know, this is Shanice, this is her assistant, da da da. She was introducing me as if I were someone new. I just kind of roll with it because there's no point in me telling you that I was here before you. Like, I do remember telling her that, but I don't remember at what point. And again, it's not something that's super important for me to bring that up every single time, because I'm not that type of person. I'm not that petty, y'all. I'm petty, but not like that. She would start using assistant number 1 against me, meaning like, I believe, in my opinion, that she saw that me and assistant number 1 were trying to somehow build some sort of work relationship. And so she would use assistant number 1 to relay messages to me. Like if she had a problem with how I looked, meaning like how I dressed, how I wore my hair, the fact that I wasn't wearing any makeup at the time, or if she would watch like how I would interact like with my clients or whatever issue she had, instead of her telling me, she would go and tell assistant number 1 to tell me, which made me have an attitude with assistant number 1, because I remember on numerous occasions, I specifically said word for word, y'all, I was like, I don't get it. I hate that she is doing this. If she got something that she want to say to me, she needs to tell it to me. She don't need to use you, because who are you to tell me what she doing, what she don't like? Because I'm not gonna lie, at first it was given you just trying to pick, and then it was given like, oh, she using you to tell me. Now looking back, I realized that she was doing what a lot of jobs do when they promote within the company. It's like if you and somebody else start on the same level and that other person gets promoted, it's like the people that are over y'all try to break up y'all's working relationship to help them assert authority by making them discipline you, making them correct you when they could have really did it. It's like, you need to remind her, you need her to respect you. But that's not how you gain respect from people. Also, I want to say too that around this time, they used to talk about me as if I wasn't there. It was like they were whispering, but I could hear every single word that they would say, y'all. And it was like, I remember specifically sitting at she had like this front desk where there was like a computer and stuff like that. And we're like, if we were taking her clients, like where we could like, you know, schedule and take payments and all this other stuff, right? So I was just sitting there. And I remember they were talking about me. And I don't know if y'all have ever been in a room of people that were talking about you and you knew it, but they were like whispering or like looking at you, and that feeling that you get, it's like, I can't describe the feeling except like it felt like my whole body on the inside was shaking, and then my ears was getting hot. Like I just felt very uncomfortable and very fidgety because y'all, I don't fight. I don't know how to fight. My mama ain't got no bail money. So it's like, I can't get the tussling up in here. Because if I call my mama, she can't get me out of jail. What she gonna do? Pray? Call somebody? I mean, of course she gonna come up there, but she ain't got no bail money. Anyway, because y'all, I'm trying to paint the picture of how I felt when I'm like, bro, y'all are literally talking as if I cannot hear you. This salon ain't that big, baby. It ain't even no closed walls. Like there was walls to section off the salon, but they were not high enough to be able to block these whispers. Okay, y'all, so I'm just going to retell the example that I was trying to give because I was rambling all over the place. But basically, I was saying that when I was at home, I had a dream that I was sitting at the front desk in the salon in front of the computer. And when I turned toward the computer, I had seen myself as if there was a camera that was watching me. Around this time, I was dreaming all the time, like almost every single night. So I was already studying dreams and trying to help myself decode the things that I had already had with the help of the Holy Spirit. What I had found was that if you see yourself like on a computer or on some sort of monitor, that means that you're being monitored and that you're being talked about. That for me confirmed how I already felt, because at first, I'm not going to lie, I felt like the devil was trying to play tricks on me, like, oh, you're just assuming, you're just overreacting. But for me, it clicked. Also, she was using assistant number 1 to do her dirty work and to check me all the time. And she wasn't even the manager around this time either. She was just using her instead of saying anything about me or any problem she had with me. So while I'm talking about assistant number 1, I am going to insert here that when I say that she was picking apart my appearance, I mean that like how, as y'all see, I wasn't wearing any makeup. Now, even in this video, I wasn't really wearing makeup like that because my skin had started like really breaking out around this time, and I just really didn't want to wear makeup because I felt like, 1, I didn't want to look like a crunch bar, and 2, I felt like it could possibly make it even worse. So when she would talk about my appearance, she would bring that up. And I'm not gonna lie, y'all, that was my fault, because in her contract, the first time and the second time I came back to work for her, it is stated that you have to have at least 3 things on your face. So you have to have your eyebrows groomed, you have to have something on your eyes, something on your cheeks, and something on your lips. So for me, I decided that I was like, okay, well, my eyebrows are always done no matter what. So I was like, I'm just gonna wear some mascara and I'm gonna put on like some blush, bronzer or whatever, and I'm gonna put some lip gloss on. Apparently that wasn't enough for her. And for me, I feel like makeup is makeup. If you want somebody to be beat down, I'm not that person at all. You know what I'm saying? Like, especially around this time, I was not that person at all, because like I said, y'all, my face was breaking out a lot. So anyway, she had a problem with that. I always used to wear my hair slick back in a ponytail. Y'all know that because that's how I come on the camera a lot of times. My hair is always in a ponytail. And I remember her like pulling out pictures and like showing me of like how she wore her hair when she would take like professional pictures for her portfolio and things like that. And she was like, well, if you're gonna wear a ponytail, you at least need to like put a hairpiece at the end of it, or put some ribbon or some beads or something on there, like make it jazzy, something. Then when she would talk about like my clothes or whatever, I'm not gonna lie, y'all, sometimes I would come in there with my work uniform on, because I used to have a 3rd shift job, and after 3rd shift ended, I would come straight into the salon. And so even when I would attempt to dress up, apparently that wasn't good enough for her either. I got sick of like trying to look for clothes in my closet, because I really didn't have a lot of clothes, and my money was funny around that time too. So it wasn't like I could just go out and buy a whole bunch of clothes. So what I ended up doing was I went to Goodwill. It was a black button-up men's shirt, but it fit my body really nicely. And then I had on some black slacks that were also men's, but you couldn't tell because I wore a black apron over it, so it just looked like I had on a black button-up with some black slacks. So anyway, I looked really cute. And because I worked 3rd shift, what I would do is I would take my clothes off and I will fold them really nicely in a plastic bag, and I would take a fabric sheet and I would put it in there. So every time I would take it out, it would like, basically my clothes would smell like I just got them out the dryer all the time. I started wearing that or whatever. And so I remember when I came to work And the first thing she said was, and she always think that she was cracking jokes or that they were funny. And she was like, you look like a waiter. And she did it like with a little giggle and a little smile. And I was like, I ain't gonna lie. Sometimes even now, I will laugh at things, even if they're not funny, but because I don't want to look like I'm mean, because a lot of people always say I'm mean or I'm bossy or whatever. So I'm like, I don't want to look like I'm mean or like I'm always serious or whatever, or I can't take a joke. You know how people do. So I just laughed. But then I remember her client was like, well, I think she looked nice. I remember another time that she had a front area where her clients can go to wait, or your clients can go to wait when they're waiting for you to finish. And I was sitting on her couch and I had like kind of dozed off. And I remember as I was dozing off, through the window, I could see a big snake like slithering underneath the couch that I was sitting in. And so I jumped up out of my sleep because it was like, oh my gosh, I thought it was real. I was like, Lord, what is going on in here? Because I want to add here that around this time when I came back to work with her for the second time, I was really trying to get my life together with God. Like, I wanted God to be so close to me, like that I could feel him breathing. I could hear his thoughts because he's like literally right here. Like, that's how close I desired to be with God, because I was going through a lot and I needed a lot of clarity. And it was like every area of my life was like on 10. And I'm just like, me and you, we gotta get like this, because whatever's going on, obviously I can't get myself out of it. If she is mad, if she is upset, if she feeling some type of way, irritated, annoyed, whatever, you gonna feel it, you gonna know it. And then it's not because she uses her words. Most of the time she will use her body, she will use her facial expression. And there was like a lot of mirrors in the salon, so it was like you could feel it in the room, but you could see it. Like, it's almost as if it's like she wanted you to see how pissed she was. Like, I remember one time when I first started assisting for her, I was not the best shampooer. I grew to be the best shampooer, but at the time I was not. And I remember she had her client back in the chair, and something in me told me like, she gonna send that client back because, you know, you didn't do the best that you could. Not that I could see it before this client left, but it was just something, maybe it was the Holy Spirit that told me, I don't know. But it was something that I could feel it, because it was just taking her too long to start blow drying and everything. So as I looked, I saw that she was like going through with the comb, and she comes back and she hands me the comb like this. And she was like, you need to shampoo her over again. And I was like, okay. I remember like she did correct me too, but I don't know if it happened in that moment. I think it might have happened in another moment. And so I was like, okay. So what I started doing was, to help us both out so that I wouldn't get in trouble, because I didn't like getting in trouble, I would just mimic what she did. I can remember a time when she was upset and you hear her just banging everything, like everything just had to make a grand noise. And I'm like, dang, in my head, I'm like, dang, what's going on? Like, are you mad? Did someone piss in your Cheerios? Like, what's going on? And it's just like, you can feel it. And for me, if I know someone is upset or angry, whether it's at me or whether it's at somebody else, I walk on eggshells. I try to do the best that I can to like not say anything or not do anything. Like, now times I felt like it was me that was the problem. You know what I'm saying? Like when I first started, and then the second time, when I came back the second time, it was the same thing. She was the same person. And I was just like, you know what? Around this time, I was still young, but around this time I was just like, okay, she's bothered. I don't know if it is me. It probably is. I had to learn that you can't use your body language and your emotions to rule over people and to control over people. That's not how you get what you want. I can remember a time that me and her client were having a conversation. She was talking about her hair, and she was like, something about her hair. I don't know if it was like breaking off, falling out, shed, and not growing. It was something. But I was like, well, maybe you should try to do this, this, and the third. And I remember one of the things that I had recommended to her was like, maybe you should start stretching out your relaxer, like not getting it as often or whatever. In mid-sentence, y'all, I never seen Boss Lady move this fast. She shot to the back like somebody needed CPR. And she pulled me to the side and was like, you don't need to be recommending nothing to my client. And I was like, okay, because this is a hair salon. I didn't know that. I felt like she attacked me as if I was walking money out of her pockets, when it's like, your client obviously has concerns, and she didn't address it with you. She asked me. I don't think the client did it on purpose. I think that just because I was back there, she just wanted to know my opinion. But the way Miss Girl was trying to check me, I said, oh baby, you never got to worry about me. I'll also add here, I remember assistant number 1 having the same issue. It wasn't when I was there, it was when it was just them two. So some time goes by and she gets assistant number 3. And so assistant number 3, I already knew her because we had worked at a salon together previously. And this girl had a big clientele. She had a big clientele when we had worked at the other salon. And so she just basically brought all those people over there. I wish that I had an accurate timeline for the time that assistant number 3 started and when she stopped. Her clientele went like this to like this in such a short amount of time, y'all, that is crazy, that I couldn't understand. Like, how do you have the power to shrink someone's clientele like that fast? I remember one time, assistant number 3 was either doing a sew-in or she was sewing something down on somebody's hair. And there was this big, long glass vase that was right next to assistant number 3. And as she was like pulling the needle through and she pulled her hand back, do y'all know that sweet baby broke her vase? Like, it literally, it was like she bumped it, but then it fell. Oh, boss lady was pissed. And I could see the look on assistant number 3 face, like, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. So I remember a time that it was me, assistant number 3, and boss lady. We had an incident. And the incident was, assistant number 3 was doing her client and I was standing next to her doing something. After she had got done with her client, she was wrapping her client's hair up with saran wrap. And this was around the time when that was really popular to do with silk presses. If you was on social media, you already know, you've seen it everywhere because everybody was wrapping their silk presses up with a saran wrap and putting them under the dryer and then combing it out later. Flawless, beautiful technique, whatever. So when she pulled her client from under the dryer, she had looked at me and she asked me, she was like, hey, can she leave out here like this? Because the client didn't want to unwrap her hair. I forgot if it was raining outside, windy outside, or she just wanted to wait until she got home to unwrap her hair. And I was doing something, so I was distracted. And I was like, yeah, it's fine, it's fine. But by the time assistant number 3 and her client got up to walk out of the door, it dawned on me like, oh my gosh, no, she can't. But as I was going out, boss lady does it again and she pew straight at them like, she cannot leave out here. She needs to come back in here. No, because here's the thing. She had it in her contract or the little booklet that we got that it was like for your client and for us to know, like, basically your clients cannot leave out of the salon with scarves on, saran wrap, plastic caps, shampoo capes, nothing. If you had to leave for whatever reason, we needed to make you suitable. So whether that was fully combing out your hair or rinsing your hair out or doing something to where you can walk out to make you look suitable, but you cannot leave out the salon looking like that. She did not play that. I wish I still had the booklet because I would have read it off to y'all. Assistant number 3 was so pissed. Like, you could tell she had wanted to cry, y'all. And I don't blame her because your client and you basically got pulled back, not with physical force, but like with words. Like, come back. And it's like you thinking you had the okay, like you was doing something right. And actually you didn't. I will say too, that some time had went by, and when me and assistant number 3 was having a conversation between just us, basically it came up that she was offended by that, and she felt like I was setting her up. And those were her actual words. She was like, I felt like you set me up because you've worked here before, you've worked with her before, you know the rules, like you knew that I couldn't do that. And I was like, Well, I apologized for that. And I said, but at the time when you had asked me, I wasn't really paying attention. I was distracted. So when I told you yes, by the time it had dawned on me what you had asked me and what y'all were getting ready to do, she had already caught y'all. And I was behind y'all, but I wasn't as quick to be able to catch you. Like, pull her back and tell her, like, I'm gonna just have to comb it out, or like, do you have something else that I can wrap your hair up with, because we can't do that here. Also, y'all, I want to add that I know it sounds like every time I say something about what Boss Lady said that I'm yelling. She didn't yell because she couldn't yell. Boss Lady had a soft, whispery voice due to some issues. So I just can't mimic her voice, because if I were to mimic her voice, y'all wouldn't be able to hear me, because even though she would like whisper, you could feel that tone, you could feel that aggression, you could feel whatever emotion that she was trying to evoke. You could still feel it. Like, basically it was like her voice was kind of like, have you ever heard someone talk who had a sore throat, and like how they really don't have a voice? Like, it's not at the raspy point. Like, she would have raspy moments in her voice, but it'd be like, it was mostly like at a whisper. So anyway, it was like that. So don't think that she was just going around here yelling. She wasn't, because she couldn't. Anyway, next part of the story. Okay, y'all, so I'm gonna just do a voiceover of another example here, because the one that I was given, it just was not tying together and making sense like I had wanted it to. So one day while we were working, my mom had came in unbeknownst to me, and she had paid my booth rent up for a while, and she also offered to pay assistant number 3's booth rent. Boss Lady's mama was at the front taking the money and everything, and when it came to her to try to pay assistant number 3's booth rent, she was like, oh no, that's okay, she got it, she can handle it. And so when she left, she had texted my phone, and she was like, hey, what's assistant number 3's booth rent? I want to pay it for her. And I was like, okay, I'll ask her. And then also in that text, my mom had told me to call her once I had gotten out of work. So some time had went on during the day, and Boss Lady had approached me and was like, oh, your mom is so sweet. She just paid your booth rent for a while. And she also tried to pay assistant number 3's, but I told her, like, she ain't got to do that. She was so sweet for that, but she don't got to do that. And she said it as if she was trying to give my mom, not give my mom, but she was trying to do my mom a favor. So anyway, when I called my mom had filled me in with what Boss Lady's mother had told her. And the reason why my mom had offered to pay assistant number 3's booth rent was because, remember, her clientele had shrank a lot. So her finances were being affected, and it was challenging for her to pay her booth rent at the time. While we're talking about assistant number 3, in between her time of being there, I remember I would constantly like give her like words of wisdom or words of knowledge from the Holy Spirit. Sometimes I would know that they was from God, but sometimes I wouldn't. But I was still sharing them anyways. I remember we was talking about a bunch of things, and I had told her, I was like, you're not gonna be here long, you get ready to leave. And she looked at me and she started smiling, and she was like, did Jesus tell you that? And I was like, I can't remember if I told her yes or if I told her I don't know. But it came to pass that she wasn't going to be there long. Her time was coming up. Her time came to leave. And when it was time for her to go, Boss Lady had wanted to have a meeting with her. I think it's called like a closing interview or exit interview. That's what companies call it, an exit interview. So basically, she did the exit interview during the time that most of us were there, but she wasn't loud about it. They just sat in the front area, so you couldn't really see anything. But I do remember her asking her, like, oh, okay, so like, what are your plans? Like, where are you headed? And things like that. Y'all, I gotta tell you about a time that I lost the key. So as an assistant, we all had keys because you had to come in before she did, and you had to set up everything, plug in everything, and make sure that her day was good to go. Also, because we all were building our clientele, or already had an established clientele, we had a key so that we could be able to get in. And when we left, if we left after her or left after the person who had the key, you could still be able to lock up the place. So basically, one day, me and assistant number 3 was out in front of my third shift job, because she used to take me to work sometimes, like when we would work late together at the salon. And I remember I had dropped the key. I remembered that I dropped it, but for whatever reason, I swear I didn't. Because when I went to go look for the key wasn't there. So anyway, we was freaking out, y'all. I was like, oh my gosh, like what I'm gonna do, what I'm gonna do, what I'm gonna do, like what are we gonna do? So we came to the conclusion that we was gonna get the key made and we was gonna keep the secret. The key that I had, because even assistant number one, she was laughing about it, not because it was funny, but she could tell, like, kind of like in a soothing motherly laugh. And she was like, it's okay, girl, like, just use my key, make a copy of it, and I'm not gonna say nothing to her either. So we all was under the understanding that Shanice lost the key, but we are not saying Shanice lost the key, because we didn't want that type of smoke about that key. If you got black mamas, you know about them lost keys. They swear up and down the whole United States of America got the key to their house. You know they don't. I'm gonna jump ahead a little bit concerning the key part, because I remember when I was going to work one day, and I remember this day, the Holy Spirit was talking to me like all throughout the day, like giving me basic small instruction. And I remember walking up to the back of the salon to get through there. And as soon as I touched the door, he was like, tell her about the key. And I'm like, no, I'm not about to tell her about the key. No. So throughout the whole day, he was like talking to me like, I'll give y'all an example, like actual examples that he gave me, like, okay, go wash the towels, go fold this, go do that, clean up this, go pay attention to this, do this and do that. Like he was just literally like just guiding me through my whole entire day. Like literally everything I did that day, he was just guiding me through basic tasks, like even tasks that I normally did, but like just making sure that I was doing them, or like, oh, you missed this, so go back and do this, like a very gentle, loving way. So I wrestled with telling her about that. Cause like I told y'all, I don't want no smoke behind that key. I want to keep the peace. I did. I wanted to keep the peace. Finally, I don't know if I told her about it that day or if some time had passed and I finally told her. So I remember I was like, I want to tell you something. And she was like, okay, like what you want to tell me? And she had a smile on her face too. And I was like, I lost the key and I also got it made too. And she was like, oh, it's okay. She was like, I knew. And in my head, y'all, I was like, how did she know I lost the key? So to this day, I still don't know how she knew I lost that key. So anyway, she wasn't mad. And I want to say that too, because when you do things that God tells you to do, he will equip you or prepare the way for you to be able to do or say what he's asking you to do or say. So now that I said that part, because that happened, you know, some time away, but I just wanted to say that while I was talking about the key. So I don't know if this happened before or after I had told her about the key and I had the key situation. I can't remember, y'all. But I remember we ended up getting another assistant. So now she got 4 assistants. I remember assistant number 1 cracking a little joke, and she was like, okay, now she getting a little beside herself with all these assistants. And I was like, girl, look, okay, I agree, because baby, why you got 4 assistants? And y'all, at this time, her clientele was not jumping like that. It was not, she didn't have that many clients that she needed for assistants. Assistant number 4 was an older woman. She was older than me, assistant number 1, and assistant number 3. Actually, I want to say that assistant number 4 might have been around my mama age, give or take a couple years. When she had gotten paid from Boss Lady, I remember her saying like her husband was like, yeah, no, like you basically, in so many words, you got to figure something else out, because this don't make sense, dollars or mental sense. It just doesn't make sense for you to be here all this time and this is the only money that you bringing back. Like you can make more money than this on your own, which is true, because she wasn't paying us hourly. She was paying us per service, and we were there for some hours. Okay, it was like, I think we was at least there for like about 8 hours. She kept mentioning that, but honestly, I felt like even in that moment, and now I felt like during that time, I believe that her husband might have been saying something about it, but I also think that she was saying and feeling the same thing. But you know how we do. Sometimes instead of us having the courage to be able to say, we said we feel, we'll say they said they feel, you know, to kind of take off the heat. Because just in case you get an opinion or a response that's not favorable or pleasing to you, it's like, oh, well, it's directed towards them, because I ain't really say it, you know, in your head, but you really know the truth. She seen how Boss Lady could get down, and I remember she would make little comments, but I would try not to like feed too much into what assistant number 4 would do or say, one thing that I had noticed about her was like, I don't know you, so I'm not going to be too keen on saying whatever around you, because I already got enough warfare going on than to add fire to it because I can't keep my mouth closed. And then another thing that I had noticed about her was that she was trying to connect herself to me. And I noticed that by some of the things that she would do or say, and I didn't like that. And I was like, yeah, I'm gonna keep you down to a minimum. So y'all, we had a salon meeting, okay? This was the only salon meeting that we had. And baby, after this, we never had another one. And I understand why we would never have another one. But I do remember her saying when we had one, she was like, I feel like, boss lady said this, like, I feel like it's becoming to be a lot of us. So I want to have a salon meeting to make sure that everything and everyone is all on the same page. So during this salon meeting, I remember that she had brought up booth rent, and she was like, I forgot why she said this, but she was like, y'all booth rent not even a drop in a bucket compared to like all of the expenses and all of this other stuff that we got to do. And I remember being taken aback, because it's like, how you gonna make me feel like my money ain't nothing when you still taking it, you still asking for it, you still upcharging? Because she mentioned too, like, this area is a high rent area, like everyone else is charging a lot more than I am, and I'm being nice to y'all because I'm trying to help y'all build. And then she asked us if any of us had insurance, and I was like, no. And I remember I'm like, I didn't know that hairstylists had to have insurance. I know now because of that situation. She was like, well, y'all ain't really making no money anyway, so y'all could just be under my insurance. So first you tell me that my good money don't spend good over here. Then you tell me that we ain't really making no money anyway, so we could just be under your insurance. Girl, I said, well, what a way to encourage us. Anyway, then we had a situation, y'all. The girls are fighting. So let me stop playing. So me and assistant number 1, when we worked at another salon, we had ran a prom special, and she asked me if I had wanted to be a part of it. I would do the makeup, she would do the hair, and her homegirl would do the nails. So I was like, okay, bet, that's great, because I was like, I can build relationships and build clients through that as well. So we did that. So when she came to this salon that we had with boss lady, we did the same thing. She was like, you want to do it again? I'm like, for sure. So I did the makeup, and she did the hair, and her homegirl did the nails again. So during this meeting, that came up in the meeting, and boss lady was like, I forgot how she brought up the whole running specials and running deals and doing stuff for free. I forgot how she brought that up. But when she brought it up, that incident came up because assistant number 1 was like, well, yeah, because the girl that you serviced was actually supposed to be my client. And we looked and we like, for real? Like, we didn't know that. And one thing about me, I can be very passive. I can also be passive aggressive as well, but I can be very passive. But if I feel like there's somebody around me that will not speak their mind and stand up for themselves, Shanice's gonna start running her mouth and standing up for the both of us, because you're not about to do that. So she tried to get down on assistant number 3. So when she said that, I said, no, we didn't know that that was your client. And assistant number 3 did speak up a little bit, but she wasn't doing enough. So I stepped in to amp up the ante, okay? So I said, me and assistant number 1, we did this last year and we're doing it this year. And I was like, we did not know that that was your client. I said, it's a giveaway. People enter in and we pick a winner. It wasn't like, oh, we went on your books and we took your client. So assistant number 1, she got a little ballsy and was like, well, basically saying she didn't care and that we was taking money out of her kid's mouth, because she was like, because that girl called and canceled her appointment. She was like, she lost money on the sew-in, because the girl was supposed to get like a sew-in with a closure, and she was like, that was X amount of dollars. I was like, how is that taking food out of your kid's mouth just because she canceled her appointment? Like, I think I said something like that, because I really genuinely wanted to know, like, but you know what, when I look back even now, I don't think she had any other clients this day. I think she was her only one. But it didn't matter. I still doubled back and I said the same thing. I said, no, we did not know that that was your client. We have this thing every single year. So anyway, as it's starting to get a little thick in there, boss lady steps in. Boss lady decides that she wants to tell us that we shouldn't be doing sales or specials or giveaways. Where she was like, because out of all the time that I've ever done hair, I ain't never did nothing for free. And I ain't never did no, she didn't say she ain't never did nothing free. She said she's never discounted anything or gave special, so she don't know what that's about, and we don't do that here. You telling us that people who pay you booth rent, yes, we're your assistant, so we're your employee, and we are independent contractors at the same time. I don't know how that go, but whatever. But that's what we was. So you're telling us that we can't make money the way that we want to make money because that's not what you believe in. Got it. I said, girl, you just letting the strikes add up. Talking about my money ain't good enough. Talking about we ain't making no money. And then you talking about we can't make no money because we can't do no special stuff. I'm like, too much. This was like towards the end of the meeting. And she reiterates to us, you know, I'm trying to retire, y'all. And I don't know who I'm giving the salon to. It could be you. It could be you. It could be you. It could be you. But y'all aren't really showing me, you know, like who could want it. I mean, who, you know, could be able to run it. I kid you not. I don't know if my face was showing it, but I know assistant number one's face was showing it. And the feeling, emotion, energy, whatever you want to use in the room, you could tell that she told all of us that. And at that moment, we knew she had us messed up. She made us all feel individually and privately that she was going to give us the salon. Baby, hold your mule. After this meeting, I specifically remember assistant number one was hot. Like, you could fry eggs on her head. You could drop a little fish on there, whatever. She was pissed. It was just me and her, and we was just cleaning up or whatever, and we was talking. And she was like, she's been telling me that I was going to get the salon. That's why I've been staying here as long as I did. Because like I told y'all, when I left, I was gone for like 4 or 5 years, and then I came back. So she was like, I've been here the longest out of everybody. And I don't understand why is she trying to give it to y'all or one of y'all. Like, she promised me that. She told me that I was her last assistant and that she was putting her everything into me so that I could get the salon. She's like, she's changing too much. I feel like she just getting to her head with all of these assistants. And boss lady was also trying to get back into the church, and assistant number one did not like that because that was something that they bonded over, was church hurt. Her and boss lady had bonded over a lot of the experiences that they had shared as women, as wives, as women who are working, and they just connected on a lot of things, but they also connected on witchcraft as well. And I was just like, oh my gosh, like, everything is getting disrupted and it's not working out in your favor because all of the promises that she's promised you, she's now going back on. She's now not following through. She's now doing one thing and saying another. And now that a lot of people are coming into the fold, you starting to see her for who she is. So she going off. We had a nice conversation. And in that moment, just for a moment, I was like, me and her could have been cool from the giddy up if it wasn't for Boss Lady. But I understand why God didn't allow us to be cool. So now that Boss Lady has 3 assistants, she magically starts to want to offer Saturday classes again. I'm using that term loosely because it had been a while since we had Saturday classes. So I'm not really sure what the motivation or the intention behind starting up Saturday classes, but I was happy that they were back. The first one that we did, everyone was there. And then the second time we were there, assistant number 1 did not show up. And Boss Lady was trying to figure out what was going on. Why wasn't she here? So the next day that we had went to work, I remember Boss Lady had asked her, like, why wasn't you here? And she was like, I don't feel like I need to be there at those classes because you're just reteaching what you taught me when it was just you and I don't feel the need to be here. Basically saying she could be somewhere else. After she said that, Boss Lady was pissed because she feels like if she was ever doing something with her time, she felt like we needed to be there and we need to be appreciating her, taking out time out of her days if we ain't have a life to live. Next time we had a class, she didn't show up, but something was different in the air when I got there. And that's when I knew that she had quit. And Boss Lady, I can't remember if she asked me if she quit or not, but baby, assistant number 1 packed up her stuff in the middle of the night and she left her key right on the nightstand. No, I'm kidding. She left her key on the station. And did she leave a note? I can't remember. I don't know. But anyway, she left. One time we were in the salon and Boss Lady had made the comment like, all people do is come here and they take, but they don't never give back. Like they get what they can get and then they leave. And then her mom was like, yep, because that's all they do. Like all the girls do is they come over here and then they get what they can get. They learn everything from her and they don't even give her a thank you. They don't even give her a this. They just don't do nothing. They just forget about her and then they leave. When actually, like they felt like a thank you is not enough. They wanted those women to stay and never leave. They wanted these women to keep coming back and like basically entertain her foolishness of some sort. Basically, she wanted to still be soul tied to these people. And once these people left, they were done. And she also, I feel like she wanted constant recognition of what she had done. Like a thank you just wasn't enough. I remember a time when after assistant number 1 had left, I had took it upon myself to move all of my things down to where she said it, because like I didn't want to be cramped up with all of them down there. I needed some space to be able to do like this and not be touching somebody, or breathe and not like, oh my gosh, my breath hit her ear. Like we're too close, we too cramped up. So I moved down there or whatever, because I'm not thinking nothing of it. Well, around this time, I was getting ready to go to a conference in Chicago, and I don't think I had any clients or anything, so I had stopped in to pay my booth rent before I had left because I knew that it was due. So I remember riding on the bus, and I don't know, I felt some type of way, and I don't know why, but it was like something was trying to tell me something. I don't know. So I got there and I get ready to pay. And when she slid me, because she used to put our booth rent on like a official like receipt thingy, and so she slid it to me, and I'm like, why is it this much? And she was like, her mom is the one that was writing it up, because whenever we didn't have an assistant, her mom would be like the secretary / assistant, but she didn't shampoo or nothing, but she just helped her like with the books and paying bills and da-da-da, like the stuff that we did, like the secretarial work basically. So anyway, I said, why is it an upcharge or whatever? So she was like, well, she said something, and then she said, well, you have to talk to Boss Lady about that. And I said, okay. Y'all, I remember I was like so pissed because like I told y'all, my money was funny around this time. So all the money that I had, I was trying to keep it to go to Chicago with. So I'm like, now she dipping into stuff that wasn't situated for that. So I remember I got on the phone and I forgot who I called. I don't know if I had called my mentor or if I called, I don't know who it was. But anyway, I had called and I was going off. I was like, she did this and da-da-da. Like, I can't believe that. Like, why wouldn't she just tell me ahead of time? Like, because why wouldn't she just tell me? Like, I don't understand. Like, why would you wait until booth rent is due to tell me that my booth rent went up? So I remember the person that I was on the phone with was like, just go pay it. And I was like, okay. And so I hung up the phone, and I think whoever I was on the phone with had prayed with me before I had went in there too. And I had paid the booth rent, and I had talked to her about it or whatever. And she was like, basically she had went up on my booth rent because I had moved down to assistant number 1 station. And she was like, because that station is bigger than the other ones. I want to tell y'all how much of a difference. I said bigger. I'm gonna say all of the stations were about this size, like from this paper, this end of the paper to like right here. Assistant number 1's station was about that big, that much bigger. It wasn't like a huge difference. Are you for real? Like, oh my gosh, when I say I was hot, I was like, forget it. I'm gonna just pay it and I'm gonna just leave. I didn't say I'm gonna forget it, but I was just like, okay. And I just paid it and then I just left. But baby, I was hot because like I told y'all, my money was funny. So for you to even add on an extra, I forgot how much money it was, but for you to add on to that, that was a lot for me because I didn't have it. I did not have it. So when I came back from the Chicago conference, that conference changed the trajectory of my life. When I came back from the Chicago conference, the warfare did not stop. It was intensifying, but it was something about it, who I was as a person now and then, and who I was spiritually then. I felt like I could handle it a little bit more, but there were still a lot of moments where I didn't feel like I had it. So it was this a lot of the time. It was like, oh, I got it. And then it was a, child, I ain't got this. Like, Lord, where's the army? What are you doing here? You see how she acting? She fouling. She need a beating. But that's how I felt, y'all. I'm just being honest. So my mentor had reached out to me. She was like, oh, hey, we should meet. We should talk, whatever the case may be. So I reached out. She was like, so how was the conference? Because she had went to a couple of the conferences as well. And it changed her life too. She was like, I really wanted to meet with you because I know what that conference can do. And I know, like, when you come back from being on such of a high like that, it's like, of course you want to talk about it, but you got to, basically prepare your life for the new way of how it's getting ready to go. And you need some support. And you need to know that you have someone who is in your corner and understands you and understands what you experienced or whatever, right? So we're talking, and of course the situations that's happening at the salon comes up. Y'all, I started getting so frustrated. I started crying. Okay. I just, because it was so frustrating. I just was crying or whatever. So anyway, in the middle of that, I was just telling her everything. And I remember her telling me, she told me 3 things, but she was like, that's because she know who you are. And I was like, what? She was like, she knows the anointing that's on you. She knows that. She recognizes that. And I want to add this here. Even when we don't know who we are, and I'm not saying like you out here aimless and roaming and all of that. I'm not saying that, because that's not how I was. How I was is that I didn't know who God called me to. I didn't know the power that I possessed. I didn't know like what God had spoken over my life from the moment of conception. Like I didn't know none of that. I'm still growing in my identity, but at the time I really didn't know that. So anyway, she was like, she know that, and that's what's offending her. That's what's jacking her up. And that's why she on your head like that, because she knows you. And I don't know if y'all remember the story that's in the New Testament, where like how the spirits had recognized Jesus and they asked him to go, what did they tell him to do? To send them in the pigs, because they would rather just go in the pigs. And they had the pigs, basically, when they got into them, they jumped off the cliff. The devil know who you are. And I want to encourage y'all and say that to y'all, even when we feel low, when we have low self-confidence, when we have low self-worth, when we think that we're not doing nothing, when we just feel just down and ugly and whatever, The devil, no, that's why he on your head like that. That's why he's trying to mess with your finances, mess with your relationships, mess with your family, mess with your children if you have any, mess with your car, your job, whatever. So, because I did not mean to go on that tangent, I'm gonna get back to the lesson at hand. Then she proceeds to tell me she a witch. And I was like I didn't do that outwardly, but inwardly I was like, you sure? Are you sure? Are you sure? Like, are you sure? The last thing she told me was, you have to pray for her. That's your assignment. You need to pray for her. That's going to be your homework assignment. Is you need to pray for her. Baby, I looked like like that lady, she was tap dancing on the last little something that I had to be able to live this life and to deal with her, okay? So I was like, pray for who? Pray for what? Be for real. So anyway, we closed out our meeting with prayer, of course. After that, I remember, not directly after that, but it was some time that went by. I remember boss lady was going off on me about something, y'all. I don't know, but she was just going in, trying to correct me about something. I can't remember. Oh, I do remember. She was trying to compare me to assistant number 1, because around this time, assistant number 1 was still there. And she was like, if you're trying to learn from me, you should be up under my elbow, like on my hip. Like everything I do, you should be looking and you should be asking questions. And you should be wondering, like, why do I do this? Why do I use that instead of that? Why do I da-da-da-da? She was like, that's what assistant number 1 did. Like she is on me. That's what she, and I just stood there and I just looked, because when I say she was going, I could feel something just shower down on me, like from the top of my head all the way down to my toes, and I'm not even exaggerating. I could just feel like something just like showering over me. And it was like this, it was kind of like peace, but it was kind of like, I don't know, I just like felt God's glory or his presence like just shower on me as she was like going off on me and in front of her client. And I didn't say nothing. I just stood there and I just let her talk to me, because the stillness that I had, and in that moment, that peace, that feeling that I had, I just wanted to keep it. And I guess if y'all want to know the feeling I'm trying to describe, have y'all ever like stood under like some running water? It could be like a shower or like another type of running water, and like how it just feels so soothing to just run down your body. And I said, that's how I felt. And I was just like, okay, because I just can't. So after this too, I want to say that I started smelling urine when she would come close to me. So when I started smelling urine, if you don't know, when you smell urine in a place or you smell urine on a person, that means that person is into witchcraft. And I said, okay, that's confirmation a second time, because my mentor told me the first time that she was witch. The second time, I was like, with the smelling, I was like, that's confirmation number 2, because you're into witchcraft, because why do you smell like urine? That woman keeps herself up. So to be walking around smelling like that, I was like, nope, that's crazy. And it happened twice on separate occasions. And I was like, what in the world? And I'm like, I kept looking around like, do nobody else smell that but me? And I was smelling only when we were close to one another. And I'm just like, that is crazy. So it's like, okay, God, you showing out. I remember number 3. And y'all know what they say about 3s.
My mama always told me, good things come in 3.
I was praying, and I was praying for something else or whatever, but God had gave me a vision, and I saw her, like her hands were like this, and she was kneeled down, and you know, I forgot what the drapery is like over the hands, but it looked like a long like chain or necklace, but it had like jewels, or if I could find it, I'll insert a picture, but it was like wrapped around her hands. She was knelt down in front of an open book of spells, and I said, God, you ain't gotta worry about me. You confirmed it. Because one thing about me, I forgot to tell y'all, somebody can tell me something, but God has to confirm it. I am so sorry, y'all. I need confirmation. I'm like Gideon. I need confirmation, okay? You got to show me, baby. You got to show me. I also want to say, during this time when the warfare got so thicky thick, I will say periodically throughout this time, I was looking for other jobs. But No job was calling. None, nada, zilch. It was either they wasn't calling, or I had 3 prospects. One, it was Speedway, and I thought I was going to get that job, but when I got there, I forgot if they canceled the interview or they turned the interview into a group interview, but if I still wanted to come, I could. It was something like that, which was weird. The second place was Mac. One of the girls at Mac was getting ready to move to California, and they were like, oh yeah, the spot is open, like you can have, like, you should apply. And I was like, okay, cool. And it was like, okay, you just need to talk to this person or come up here on this day, whatever. It was like I got so much of the runaround, whether it was on the phone or in person, that I feel like I was trying to chase down somebody baby daddy to serve him papers for him not paying child support. Like, that's how I felt. I was like, okay, you know what, forget it, that's crazy, because what's with all this running around? Then the third one was at Cosmoprof, which is like a professional salon retailer or whatever. The woman loved me. Like, I could tell I had it in the bag before the interview was over. So she was like, oh my gosh, like, I really want to hire you. I just have to, like, it was one more step that she had to do to basically do. She was like, but I'm just basically going to tell you, like, basically the job is basically yours. I just have to do like one more step. I remember India got baptized this particular Sunday, and I hadn't heard from them yet, but I knew that when they called, it was like they would give me the schedule and let me know that I got the job and da-da-da. Phone starts ringing. And so it's them. So I'm getting all excited. And she was like, hey, how you doing? I am so sorry to do this, but this never happens. This has never happened before. We got a transfer, and based on like our policies and things, we have to take the transfer over taking someone who had just applied. I just sat on the phone. And I was just like, okay, you have a good day. Bye. Because I was mad. Because when you going through a lot and you trying to get out of that situation, when constant doors are just shutting your face, you feel like the road is coming to an end. Or let me not be that dramatic. You feel like, okay, God clearly don't either understand, he don't like me, or he not hearing me, or he don't care. So he's trying to make me stay in this. But what I learned in that situation was God was shutting every door because there was something that needed to happen while I was in there. There was some sort of refinement, some sort of deliverance that needed to happen in that place for me. So that's why he did that, because I couldn't escape that place until I learned that lesson. This is like the last straw for me. One day I came into work, and I'm not sure exactly what happened and how any of this started. I don't know. I just know what happened and what came after. But I was inside, I was standing up. Her client was sitting on the couch in the front area, and she was standing up in front of me, but like, you know, some ways probably like she wasn't in my face or anything. She started saying something to me, and all I remember saying to that woman was, you can't talk to me like that. And so she said something else. Y'all, when I say I blacked out, like not blacked out like I did something crazy, but I blacked out that moment to where I can't even tell you what I said, what she said after that moment. I can't tell y'all nothing, because all I remember, it felt like I closed my eyes, and by the time I opened my eyes back up, I heard her say, well, you know what, you can go ahead and just go home for the rest of the day, and maybe we'll try again tomorrow. I left out, I called my mama. When I say I was going off, I was like, she did this and da 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 da. Like, in that moment, I could remember our exchange, but the day after, I couldn't remember. Even now, years later, I cannot remember. I remember handwriting my 2-week notice, and then I remember I told myself, every single day you go to work, you're going to pack up something little by little, so that when it's time to go, you don't have a lot to take with you, because y'all, I didn't have a car. Sorry y'all for another voiceover, but I was rambling again. I did want to add here that around the time that I was leaving for Chicago, all of the assistants had began to leave at different points of time. So when we had the last incident between her and I, it was just her and I that were working together because everyone had quit. But now I'm going to get back to the part of me putting in my 2 weeks. For some reason, she was nicer to me. And she was like, oh, okay, well, you know, like, let me know, like, when you're leaving or when your last day is so that we could sit down and we could have a meeting. Baby, one thing about me, maybe got to change it about me, but one thing about me, when I am done with you, I am done with you. So I don't know if I said okay or what. Maybe I did say okay, but it wasn't okay in agreement. It was like just okay as in I heard what you said, but I'm not going to do it. Baby, I packed up my stuff like the feds was on the way, and I had so much cocaine on me. Like, I needed to get on down before they came, okay? Like, I didn't give her nothing. I did not give her no conversation. Because remember when I told y'all that assistant number 3 had an exit interview with her as well? Something in my spirit kept telling me, like, she want to have that meeting because she want to be in your business. She wants to know where you're going, what you're doing. But when I started working at Ulta, I was so freaking anxious, y'all. It was not even funny. I was so anxious because I kept thinking like, she's going to see me. She's going to see me. She's going to come in here and she's going to see me, because where Ulta was and where her salon was, it was like not even a 5-minute drive. It was like maybe a 2-minute drive. But, I was like, she's going to see me, or somebody's going to come in here that knows her and they're going to tell her like where I'm at. Because remember, I never had that exit interview, so she don't know where I went. I said, then they're going to know, she's going to see me. So I just was so anxious, and I would try, like, I would do my job. Like, when I first started working at Ulta, I was doing the dang on thing, okay? I was the best customer service representative, whatever you call them people, ever, okay? So one day, I had a dream about her, and this was the last dream I had. And I remember the dream was I was sitting in the bathroom at the church that I had grew up in, and their bathroom for the women is like, the first part that you walk into is like a seating area. That's all. It's just seating area, a mirror, and sinks. Then you have to walk through another door to go to the toilet and stuff. I was in the seating area, and I was sitting there, and I was sitting on the floor. And in a dream, she opens up the first door to where, like, you know, the seating area, and she looks at me and she closes the door back. In that dream, when God gave me the revelation about that dream, he was telling me, like, she's released you. Like, that's what he told me, like, she released you. So I went to work and I was not anxious anymore. I wasn't feeling like she was gonna come and find me, like she was looking for me. I didn't feel like that no more. Then I had a vision of her. The last vision I had, some years had passed, not too long. I'm gonna say like maybe a year or 2 had passed, and I had a vision of her. I was listening to a sermon, and I remember I was just thinking about a lot of different things, but I was mostly thinking about myself. And then God had dropped her in my spirit. And y'all, I'm kidding y'all, I kid y'all not, I started praying, and then I just started weeping for her. Like, I had no words left for that woman. I had no words left to pray. I just wept. And that's how I knew that I was over it, that I wasn't concerned about her no more. It was like God had showed me her in a spirit realm, and it was like he helped me to understand how she was. Like, I'm gonna tell y'all this. Most people who are Jezebels, or they are Ahabs, or they dibble and dabble in witchcraft, most of them have issues of rejection, abandonment, worthlessness. They feel like they've lost control. They don't feel whole. They don't feel complete. So the only way that they knew how to, or to gain some power or some influence, was to start getting into witchcraft. And it's just like, I just wept for her, because I'm like, God will show you your enemies how he see them, and he'll show them to you like that, so you can start to soften your heart towards them, so that you can pray and you can intercede. Because one thing I know for sure is that God is a God of redemption, and he wants everyone to be restored. He wants everyone to be made whole. He wants everybody to come back to him. He don't want you to be stuck or to even die in your sin. That's a personal choice. Okay, so y'all, I hope that y'all held on to this very end of the video, because this is where I'm going to share with y'all what I felt like I could have done better and what you can do if you find yourself in this situation. So the first thing I want to touch on is Jezebel and Ahab. Jezebel and Ahab can both be man or a woman. I know that when people hear Jezebel, they think that it's always a woman, but a man can be a Jezebel as well. And I know that when they hear Ahab, they think of a man, but it could also be a woman as well, because it's a spirit, and spirits, they don't care. But Jezebel works to divide and conquer, and they also work by the luring. Like, they find ways to lure, whether that's studying you to know what you like, to know what you're interested in, to know your hopes and your goals and things, to pull you in. So Jezebel likes to use the divide and conquer technique, because they know that if they get you by yourself, that they can be able to rule over you a lot easier and influence you to do what they want you to do to benefit them. They also don't want you to band together with anyone else, because you'll find out about all of the lies that they told each of you. When a Jezebel or Ahab sees that they cannot control you, they will try to tie themselves to you. And they saw that they couldn't control me. They tried to bind themselves to me in ways of like continually repeating things to me, or trying to seem like they all on the same page as me, or like even when someone tries to like buy into you, like, oh, I want to invest in you, I want to give you this gift or whatever, like trying to find a way to get in, whether it be gifts, money, opportunities, whatever, because they're like, I can't control them, so what I'm gonna do? I say pray about it. I say you need some prayer partners. You can pray on your own too, but you need to have community around you to build you up, because there will be moments where you're going to feel weak. There will be moments where you're going to feel like you can't take no more, or you want to lash out in a flesh-like way. You don't need to do that. I did that a couple times. I told y'all about the last straw. I did that a couple times, and it didn't go well. It didn't further push me in the right direction. I should have prayed more, y'all. I should have fasted. I should have concentrated I should have consecrated myself a lot more. I remember a lot during this time, like a lot, like more than 2 handfuls. God would wake me up every morning about 3 or 4 o'clock. No, it wasn't 3, like 4 o'clock. It was more like 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning. He would try to wake me up every morning. And the times, which were very few, that I actually woke up, he would show me my day before I even got to the salon, so he could prepare me. The times that I did not, I would go to work and I would regret it, because he would have showed me what I was getting ready to walk into, so that he could have prepared me for it. And that's why I'm telling y'all need to fast, y'all need to pray, y'all need community. Remember what fight you all are fighting. Remember that you're not fighting against flesh and blood, meaning you're not fighting against person and person. You're fighting against spirits and principalities, things that are stronger than you, that you cannot fight on your own or using your own fleshly tactics. You need the Holy Spirit. He's the only one that's stronger than all of them. He's the only one that can help you overcome it. Take every issue you have with that person to God. That's what I should have did that I did not do. I did not take every single issue I had with her. I would either call and complain to the same people that I always did. I would pray some, but not like I should have. I should have also repented more. I should have repented more, as far as when I knew I was wrong, I should have just repented and not been in so much pride. Lastly, y'all, please don't be like me. Do better, be better. We all fall short of the glory, but we get back up again. I pray that I'm not ever in this situation again, but if I am, I pray that what I learned, that I can apply it. And instead of me getting so discouraged that I resort to the last straw incident, that instead of that, I come out feeling victorious. Like, anyway, y'all, this video was long enough. Please remember that it's you that makes you beautiful. And of course, I will see you guys in the next one. Thank you. Bye.